Hey, love. Now, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Sometimes I read certain scriptures and chapters, even, and sometimes even the books of the Bible are like, what the heck is happening here? Or why is this so repetitive? Or why does this even matter? Or, Lord have mercy, what are you trying to say? Well, if you have felt that way, I'm glad I'm not alone. Listen, though, God showed me something very, very interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So I was in Exodus 37, and this entire chapter is about the construction of the ark. And it goes into a lot of details. I'm actually not going to read the full chapter. I encourage you to go do that on your free time. But it's very specific, such as a certain number of talents of pure gold and cherubims, the way they're going to face and how they are going to be carved out of one piece, and the cubit's length of measurements for each piece, and the curtains and the rings that go on the curtain. I can go on and on. And I was like, Lord, I want to delight in your word, but I am having a hard time getting through this section. Like, I'm rereading it and rereading it, have revisited it. What is here? And it dawned on me, and I wrote this in my word, so y'all see I'm not lying. I wrote it in there. I'm going to read it to you. I said, I believe God has some parts of the Bible that speak uniquely and specifically to people in certain career fields. These chapters of Genesis, I believe, speak to architects. Now I wrote Genesis. It was supposed to say Exodus, but I'm glad I caught that. Because even though we all know the story of Exodus is them leaving Egypt and being freed and the Israelites wandering, there are certain parts where God takes chapters to go in detail about the architecture of certain things. I wonder if there are any architects in the room who find this chapter particularly inviting or interesting. For example, there are certain parts and stories of the Bible that speak to me as a psychologist. For example, the story of Hagar. I was furious about Sarah forcing her to be pushed out into the desert with her child, a water bottle, and a piece of bread. I felt so sorry for her. But it almost felt like I could be in her shoes. I could see the desert sand dusting across her feet. I could feel the ache in her back. It resonated with me in ways that certain other stories in the Bible don't. And I believe that God has shown me that calls to me, that hits me differently, that strikes a nerve in me, because I am someone who cares deeply about someone's trauma and their pain and the abuse that they go through. Hagar was abused, and that is one story that even as a child has always stuck with me. I also think about stories like Jesus weeping. I think about when Jesus was asking his friends, like his disciples, you can't stay up with me for an hour. You can't just stay with me. You can't just watch with me. And he was preparing for one of the most excruciating experiences of his life. He was preparing to go to the cross, and he felt so alone. I imagined he had such grief in his heart and in his mind, such anxiety and stress because of what was coming before him. I was able to see that because I believe God has gifted me with the particular lens psychologically to see that in. And before you guys go say, oh, you only see it that way because you studied psychology. Actually, I've been seeing life through these types of lens before I even knew what psychology was. If you asked me as a kid, I wanted to be an animal police officer. I know, where the heck did that come from? I watched a lot of Animal Cops Houston. I wish they would bring that show back. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What God showed me is that even as a child, he planted seeds in my heart. He planted seeds in my mind because he knew who he was going to call me to be, and he knew what he was going to call me to do. And so he allowed there to be in the Bible before I was even formed, before even any of us were on this earth, stories that would resonate with me, stories that would prick parts of my heart that other people may not be bothered or fazed by, or may not see in the same way. And I think that he's done the same for you. I wonder, actually, I challenge you to go through the Bible and see what stories, what chapters just light up to you. How do they apply to your life, how you see things, your perspective and mindset, maybe even your career path that you're on? And see what God might be trying to show you or teach you through his word in that story or passage. I hope this helps. I love you.